Two new young kids on the block with 1 point separating them for the lead in the Busch Grand National Drivers' Championship. They have famous last names, famous older racing brothers. But tonight, Bobby Labonte and Kenny Wallace, neck and neck, will have to race door to door with some other famous racing names. Earnhardt, Gant, Waltrip, Allison, Irvin. It's championship racing under the lights at Richmond.
From the old half-mile Richmond Fairgrounds Raceway with its wooden grandstands has risen this beautiful speedway facility. Richmond International Raceway has moved racing forward into the future. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Autolite Platinum 200. Tonight, Richmond Raceway takes a big step back into the past of motorsports as we go racing the way they used to and still do it at short tracks all across the country, under the lights. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Joy, and here in the Pontiac Pit Center, I'll keep you updated on various aspects of the competition this evening as NASCAR's Busch Grand National Series goes at it in its 26th of 31 races in this multi-million-dollar series that has thrilled race audiences across the country. Let's go topside and meet the folks who'll be calling the action of tonight's 200. First, with America's racecaster, Ken Squire.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. Sun's going down, and the wind's come up a little, and the adrenaline as 34 cars are being brought to the line to run for $119,000. 200 laps the distance tonight, 150 miles for the Busch Grand National Cars of NASCAR. Debbie Bound is working with us tonight, and our old pal Neil Bonnet. And if you think he has to do this for a living, just take a look here at his moniker. Catfish Bonnet. It's like the old Yankees catfish hunter.
Got to work for a living, Ken. You know how it is. I'm not driving cars. I got to work a little bit now.
Found something to eat. Listen, tonight, one thing about this racetrack is it's going to stay stable for these guys all the way through.
Ken, usually when we come to these big racetracks, all we hear from the drivers and the mechanics, what's the car going to do later in the race, They always want cloud cover. They're worried about sunshine. We've eliminated that. There's not going to be any question what's going to happen. It's going to be dark, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to be fast. The question under everybody's mind, most of the time the tracks loosen up in the sunshine. When it cools down, they might get tighter. These guys aren't used to working with those conditions.
Yeah, what could get really ticklish here tonight is the fact that this may drop off another 8 or 10 degrees. It's going to be hard to get the heat in those sidewalls.
Yeah, and how many times have we heard these guys pray for a cloud to cool it down? They're going to be cool. They're going to have to work on the tires and the cars to keep them running.
200 laps the distance to be run. Debbie Bound, what are some of the stories we should be looking for?
Well, a couple things we need to look for tonight, Ken. We've got quite a few drivers that didn't qualify very well that normally do qualify up there. Ernie Irvin, Davey Allison, 5-time pole winner this year, Chuck Bound. Steve Grissom, they're starting in the back of the field. We're going to see a lot of action at the start of the race with them moving up. Another thing we got to watch for is penalties. I think NASCAR is going to have their eye on everybody. This is a Busch Grand National race. They've got 6 races left, and I think Neil's buddies are going to have to watch out. Those Busch drivers are going to do the pushing tonight.
Catfish, you're in trouble before we even get started tonight, and all you're doing is standing up here.
What do they mean, my buddies? You know, it's been a year and a half since I've driven one of these things, and I promise you, I used to push them around a little bit myself.
Yeah, and you pushed them pretty hard on this racetrack.
Yeah, I've been lucky. This is a good racetrack, and it's going to be a good race tonight.
All right, the countdown is continuing. We're minutes away from getting down to serious business with the Busch Grand National Cars here at Richmond International Raceway for the Autolite Platinum 200. World sports coverage of the Autolite Platinum 200 is presented by Oldsmobile, inviting you to stop by your Oldsmobile dealer for a test drive and see what's new from the new generation of Olds. By Nestle Crunch, get the taste of victory. Nestle Crunch Ice Cream Bar. Chocolate scrumptious when it crunches. By Autolite Platinum Spark Plugs, guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go. And by True Value. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value Hardware Store. There are 60,000 seats here at Richmond International Raceway, and already half of them are full. And there's a pretty good chance that a lot more will be filled up. A gigantic traffic jam has been created. It's shopping night in Richmond for some. It's race night for many others. We understand the traffic's backed up some 2 or 3 miles trying to get into this 3/4-mile track where those 34 cars are getting ready to get it on tonight. And for just a moment, let's talk about that, Neil Bonnet. Strategy on this track. Number one, when you drive at night, usually those things look a little wider.
Yeah, Ken, luckily enough, most of these guys have came out of the ranks where they raced in nighttime races. But what you get into, the perspective out of the car, when you're sitting in the car with the lights glaring on the windshield, how much room do you have between that bumper on your car and the rear bumper of the other guy? The best way to do is feel, and that's what most of these guys do. But it is a little bit different in the car. In the daytime, we have to deal with the sun, but this thing right here is a little bit different, and the guys are going to have to work on it to get the cars in the corners without banging around all over each other.
Debbie Vaughn, how do you think they're going to handle it out here tonight?
Well, I think these Busch drivers are used to working under nighttime conditions. A lot of their races don't have pit stops, but they're night races. So I don't think we're going to see a problem that way. I think, you know, smoke or anything like that, they have spotters out there that can help them out.
How about pit road?
I don't... Some of the jackmen were a little bit nervous about pit road hitting the spot because our races normally are not... We don't have to have a pit stop. They're short enough. This is a pit stop race. I don't think it will be a problem. They brought in a lot of lights.
So the 150 miles is what, 2 stops for fuel on these 6 cylinders?
I think they're talking about 2 stops. The only thing that might enter into it is the question on tires. This being a night race, I think the tire companies brought a little bit softer compound, wanting to be competitive, but also be quick on a cool racetrack. Did they bring the right compound? We're going to have to see.
For another perspective on this night race at Richmond International Raceway, let's go to the Dean of American Racecasters, the editor-publisher of the National Speed Sport News, Chris Economaki.
Well, thank you, Ken. Well, you know, night racing's an old hat in the United States, but never for a major race. It's the big-time races are held usually on Sunday afternoons, and this race tonight should see the fastest speeds of stock cars at night in racing history. The lights are great here, but years ago it wasn't that way. I remember a night at Freeport, Long Island, when they had a spectator race. 30 or 40 cars got out there. It was weak lights, and they rolled around on the parade lap, and they came down and took the green flag, and as they boomed down the back straightaway, the leader, who'd never driven before, went off the track through the fence and out into an unlighted baseball diamond. And every car on the track followed him there. It was really funny. The starter got hysterical. He lay down on the start-finish line and was laughing. He couldn't control himself. The lights were shining on an empty racetrack, and drivers started running in from the baseball diamond, wanted to know what happened. That's what night racing was like in the beginning, Ken.
Let's go to more on the story of the lights here at Richmond. Here's Mike Joy.
Well, there are no 100-watt bulbs here, Ken. On each of 9 Musco lighting trucks, a 3-inch cable reaches 120 feet in the air to power the 15 bulbs, each of which puts out 150 million candela. 9 units, 1,350 million candle power to light this speedway. It's the next best thing to daylight, and if you want to pay this light bill, bring $75,000. That's not quite as much as they'll be racing for tonight, and we're going to meet the starting lineup in a unique way this evening. 2 of the nation's preeminent print motorsports journalists are with us, dabbling in TV. You've already met Ye editor Chris, and with him is the editor of America's most honored racing publication, Stock Car Racing Magazine, Dr. Dick Berggren. They'll take us through the starting lineup. Chris?
Well, I'm starting by number 03, Pete Suspenzo. He's a name not familiar. A lot of fresh yellow paint on this car. He had a little altercation in practice earlier today. They freshened up the back of the car. He's starting last. He has to improve. Dick?
Well, here we are back in 33rd starting position with Troy Beebe. This is a rookie effort. This is his first year on the circuit. It's only his 2nd time here at Richmond. His father is working hard to try to help this young man. He's out in California trying to assemble a coast-to-coast taco connection to try to bring some more money to this team. He could use some extra help tonight. Look at this. He's got to pass 32 cars if he wants to win this thing. Chris?
In 32nd place, a guy with the right name on his car, Grease Lightning. It's Ed Berrier of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Ed is a big star in this series for a long time, but he's not been winning lately, and he's going to try to get one before this season is over. Dick?
Well, boy, way back here in 31st spot, Chris, Davey Allison. Wouldn't expect this, but this is the kind of year this guy has had. He hasn't won a race in Busch Grand National Racing, even though he's been very competitive. He's been knocked out 5 times with broken valve springs. He's broken an oil pump. At Dover, he thought he had the race won. He ran out of gas. They brought the car back to the garage and discovered there were 6 gallons in it. For here, they don't know what's wrong with the car. Davey says, I'm just going to drive this thing till the wheels fall off. All the way back here, this guy is going to be something to watch tonight.
Okay, Elton Sawyer, car 67. He's starting in 30th place. This is probably the cleanest and shiniest car on the track. Elton's a bridegroom. He married Patty Moise not too long ago, but he hasn't been doing too well on the track, but his car certainly looks right. Dick?
Harry Gantz all the way back in 29th spot. This is the car and this is the driver that won the race here in the spring. And they don't know why they're back here either. They guessed maybe the gear was wrong. They certainly hope they've got the right gear in it tonight. This car, or this driver, won the Southern 500 last week. And look at, he's all the way in the back of the pack. That shows what racing could do to you, Chris.
Well, TIC Financial Systems, that tells you what David Green is financed to the hill. He's from Owensboro, Kentucky, in car number 8, and he's starting in 28th position in an Oldsmobile. Dick?
Starting 27th is Steve Grissom. He could have been a college man, could have been a football player. He had a total of 13 football college scholarships offers. He was both an offensive player, a defensive player. He said, nah, I'd rather be a race car driver. So last year he won 4 races in this series. He won a single race this year in the series. It's taken him 2 different sponsors to get him this far in the series, but he's got enough to go all the way, and he's looking to run a whole lot better tonight.
Number 63 is the defending champion of the series, Chuck Bowen from Portland, Oregon. And he may have coffee nerves starting way back in 26th position in this car, advertising the new ground roast. Dick?
Well, car supposed to be starting in 25th spot is Dick Trickle. He's not here yet. Some of the guys are still trying to get through technical inspection. Trickle is one of those. On Monday, he won at the Minnesota State Fair. Last month in August, he won a major Artgo race. He hasn't won anything in Busch Grand National Racing this month so far. He says tonight's the night. He's got to get out of tech inspection first, though.
Well, the winner of the Daytona 500 was Ernie Irvin, and he's with us tonight in car number 10, starting in 24th position. He's from Modesto, California, and the ride, a Chevrolet. Dick?
Well, everybody'd like to meet a nice lady. This fella, Cecil Eunice, met a real nice lady named Carol Levin. She found him as a dirt track driver in Georgia. She's paid for race cars for this guy all the way from the dirt tracks to here to the big time. Cecil Eunice looking for a good run tonight on the pavement.
Okay, Bobby Dotter all the way from Chicago, 08, and look at this color. His sponsor, Cling Free. I wonder what he's like at the laundromat with this car, but he'll be pushing it hard tonight. Dick?
Well, Richard Lassiter is also in his freshman year as a race car driver. Last year he went to Buck Baker's driving school. They said, hey, you got some talent. He said, how much? They said, you got a lot of talent. He said, okay, quit his job, went out, bought a race car from Davey Allison, became a full-time race car driver. Here he is in the middle of the field tonight.
And number 99, Jeff Burton from South Boston, Virginia, a pretty-looking machine. He's one of 2 brothers in tonight's contest. A pretty fair-looking machine, and he eats regularly, courtesy of Food Lion and Armor.
Well, Tracy Leslie is going to be starting in the 19th position. He has yet to win a Busch Grand National race, although he's got a 2nd spot to his credit. He's the 1988 ARCA champion, says this series is about the toughest thing he's ever tried to drive. He's going to have his hands full tonight, starting here in the middle of the pack, Chris.
And here's a well-known name in stock car racing in number 17 here, Darrell Waltrip. The paint job on this car is said to be the most expensive in all of stock car racing, with the design factors and the various shades and colors along the side of this Western Auto car. A lot of fans in the stands for Darrell Waltrip.
Tom Peck's number 96 car is going to start in the 17th position. You like to cheer for an underdog? Cheer for this guy. No sponsor name on the quarter panels, no hired help. It's all volunteer help. They use a lot of recycled pieces and parts in the car and in the engine. These guys do remarkably well on very, very little.
One of only 2 Fords in tonight's contest is to be driven by Jeff Gordon, the newly crowned United States Auto Club Silver Crown champion. That's an open-wheel series. He won that title on Labor Day at DuQuoin, Illinois. He's Ford's white hope for big-time stock car success in the years to come.
Well, Morgan Shepherd is hoping things are going to turn around for him here at Richmond, Virginia. The last race he finished in this series, believe it or not, was back in February here at Richmond, Virginia. In every other race this year, he's fallen out, mostly with engine problems. How diverse have these engine problems been? Last weekend at Darlington, believe it or not, the little lever on the fuel pump broke while Morgan was in contention to win. Boy, this guy, this team, they need to finish tonight more than they need to win the race, Chris.
Well, here we have a stalwart from Coopersville, Michigan, Butch Miller, the only car in the race on Hoosier tires. Number 75, he's starting 14th. He's a veteran campaigner and looks to do well in the contest this evening.
I'd rather not start in 13th spot, but that's Robert Presley's distinction tonight, Chris. He is driving the Alliance Oldsmobile. Ricky Pearson, son of David Pearson, famed Winston Cup driver, is doing the crew chief work on this automobile. This team has one win in 1991. They'd like to make it two right here tonight.
In 27 is Ward Burton, the brother of Jeff Burton we mentioned earlier, in the highly polished car, Gwaltney Foods. Many of the cars in tonight's race are sponsored by the food industry. Dick?
Love story for you here, Chris. Car number 79, Dave Rezendi, starting in the 11th spot. Guy was a terrific modified driver. In 1988, he had a chance to drive a Busch Grand National car. He got in the seat one time, turned the steering wheel, and he said, that's it, I'm in love. He packed his suitcase, packed his family, went south, gave up everything he had. This is a family-owned, family-sponsored team, and he wants to be a Busch Grand National racer that wins more than anything else, and that's something he hasn't yet done in this series.
Car number 6 belongs to Tommy Houston. 10 years ago, this racing series began, and Tommy Houston was in the very first race. And he has been in every race since then with this car. But this year, he has failed to win. He's hoping he gets one before the season is over. Car number 6 starting in 10th place.
Starting in 9th is Dale Jarrett driving the number 32 car. He is having the best season of his entire career. He has won in Winston Cup. He has won in Busch Grand National Racing. He comes from a racing family. His father, a well-known race car driver turned journalist. His sister is on the tour as a public relations person. Her husband is a crew chief for a Winston Cup car. Dale's other brother used to drive race cars. Let me tell you, this is a racing family.
In car number 87, starting 8th, is Joe Nemechek of Lakeland, Florida. Look at this beautiful refrigerator white machine. And if he should win tonight, you can bet your life they'll be dancing the polka in the Polish sections of Richmond tonight.
Third in points and starting in 7th position, Hurricane Jimmy Hensley. And we've got a real switch here. Hensley tested this racetrack for Hoosier tires. He has been the main man for Hoosier all year. Tonight, he has switched to Goodyear. They threw a set of Goodyear tires on this automobile this afternoon. It went 4/10 faster than it had gone before here. Hensley said, that's good enough for me. Hoosiers went out. Goodyears went on. The Hoosier people said, that's okay, let him run him tonight. He can run Hoosier some other time. Hensley looking to win out here tonight on Goodyears for a change.
A hometown favorite, the only driver in the race from Richmond, Virginia, Tommy Ellison, car number 12. He's one of the top scrappers in all of stock car racing, and he's got many fans in the stands.
Starting in 5th position, driving car number 34, Todd Bodine, 27 years old, 2 poles, 1 win. Some tragedy on this team. The crew chief, Clyde McLeod, not here tonight. He had a death in the family. Brett Bodine, Todd's brother, therefore, is going to be the crew chief tonight. His other brother, Jeff Bodine, is going to be the chief spotter. Another family operation here tonight at Richmond.
One of the roughest, toughest competitors in all of stock car racing is in this black number 3, the Darth Vader car. It belongs to Dale Earnhardt, headed for a 5th straight Winston Cup championship, taking a night off to race in the Busch Grand National Series. And he has a host of fans as well.
And here's a brand new automobile. Michael Waltrip is going to start in the 3rd position with a car that had never turned a wheel on a racetrack before this afternoon. Waltrip won twice last year in this division, has not yet won in 1991. He finished 2nd to Earnhardt at Daytona. He finished 2nd to Earnhardt at Darlington. He said that's almost like a win, but not quite.
And from River City, St. Louis, Missouri, the brother of former champion Rusty Wallace, Kenny Wallace, fighting for the championship with a man alongside, 1 point out of leading the standings. And tonight's race may see this man take the lead when the checkered flag waves. Dick?
On the pole is Bobby Labonte in car number 44. That's the same number his brother drove. Took him all year to put this thing on the pole. He could sure use it tonight. He's only 1 point ahead of Kenny Wallace for the point championship. So he has definitely got his work cut out for him. He said he did a bonsai run to put the thing on the pole. See if he can win this thing at Richmond.
The countdown continues toward the start of the Autolite Platinum 200 here in the heart of the Confederacy, Richmond, Virginia, which is enjoying a resurgence, a rebirth in the tourist trade these days. And one of the things that's developing is an interest, of course, in American history. And it happened, I believe, a lot through the series that Ken Burns produced for PBS on the Civil War. Recently, he has put together a very fine tribute and promotional announcement about Richmond. I'd like to have you take a look at it.
Walk in the footsteps of the Civil War. gallant troops fought and changed the history of our great nation. Visit the capital of the Confederacy. See the world's largest collection of Confederate artifacts. Experience a 97-mile Civil War tour where Robert E. Lee first took command in battle. Learn of the valiant, heroic Afro-Americans in the Civil War. Like a history book that comes to life, experience the excitement of the past with battle reenactments, informative exhibits, or tour famous plantations. It's still here today in metropolitan Richmond, the heart of the Civil War. Hi, I'm Ken Burns, creator of the Civil War series on public television. I invite you to visit memorable places in metropolitan Richmond and experience the great pageantry of this remarkable war.
Well spoken. I think even folks in Richmond would consider that done by a Yankee as a very fine tribute. Now, what a tribute to motorsports. This great three-quarter-mile racing facility is directly behind me. Brand new amphitheater is being constructed as part of this new mecca for tourists here in Virginia, Richmond. Well, we're getting down towards start time, and it's time to meet the guys who are in contention to win it all this year, up for the national championship and grand national ranks. And earlier, Mike Joy talked with them.
I'm joined by the two drivers who are 1 point apart in the chase for the Busch Grand National Championship. Bobby Labonte has 2 victories, just picked up his 3rd pole position, 8 top 5s, and 18 top 10 finishes, but 1 point. Not much of a lead.
No, it didn't. You know, this Penrose Oldsmobile car runs good, you know, in the first 25 races. Really doesn't mean much now because the next 6, we got 1 point difference. We should have started right now.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's going to be a hard-fought battle from here on out, I'm sure.
How close are these two? Kenny Wallace, also with 2 victories, 2 poles, 10 top 5s, 15 top 10s, and just 1 point behind.
Well, you know, the way I look at it is that a lot of the teams are trying to mentally, you know, get both of us screwed up so they can catch us. And what I'm trying to do is just act like, hey, this is the start of the season. It's all over now. It's a foot race to Martinsville, and it's going to be interesting. Bobby and me are kind of both the same people. We've, you know, built our own race cars, come on up, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting.
Your personal best, both of you 3rd at this racetrack. I understand you fellas hang out a lot together, and you're pretty close off the racetrack, but tonight, different story.
Well, we try to maintain a friendly relationship. It's hard for us. I mean, we do radio shows together and do things of that nature. Bobby lives about 80 miles from me, though.
But, you know, when we go to the racetrack, it's a lot of fun because, you know, we usually park beside each other. So, you know, we've got a lot of, you know, a lot of things in common, our brothers and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good relationship. You know, we always just, you know what each other's going to do. Just, hey, you know, what's going on? And, you know, it's a lot of fun to race this guy because he's a good and clean driver.
The big question, whose car is working better tonight?
Oh, man. He's got the pole at a 22.57, and I'm second at a 22.60. So that the width of that fingernail right there. We don't know. We'll have to get into the race and see.
6 races to go in the season. They're just that far apart. 1 point.
Thank you, Mike. Let's take a look right now at the course over which they're going to be competing. Neil Bonnet, tell us about it.
Ken, the half-mile racetrack is gone, and as you can see by this diagram, the additional mileage to put it up to a three-quarter-mile racetrack was added on the front straightaway. The big bow on the front straightaway lets you get a real fast entry down into turn 1. The problem area, if there is one, is coming off of turn 2. You can see the big sweeping turn up onto a square straightaway. Off of turn 2, it's very easy to get into that wall. Down the back straightaway, big sweeping turn into 3, big wide exit off of 4. The track is very easy to drive. As I said earlier, the only place you have to worry about is off turn 2. Front straightaway 8 degrees, back straightaway 2 degrees. Not only do you deal with a real sharp turn off 2, very little banking, so they got their work cut out for them. And Chris, let's go down to Chris Economaki on pit road.
Well, I'm next to the man on the top of the world in stock car racing, Dale Earnhardt. Dale, Friday night at the track, 200 laps. Is it work or is it fun?
It's going to be fun, I hope. I hope we have a little fun here tonight. The car's working good, qualified pretty good, so looking forward to a good night.
The fact that it's not your regular series, can you do things you might not do otherwise?
No, we're just going to try to win the race. Do the same thing we do in the Winston Cup car. This is one of the engines from the Winston Cup team. They got the Spinney Clinton built the engine, so, you know, Tony and the guys fixed the car, so we're ready to go here.
Well, I see you've got a big smile on your face. Good luck, Dale.
Well, I'm with Michael Waltrip. He's on the inside of the second row. Michael, get down to showtime.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. This is what it's all about, Dick, racing NASCAR under the lights. Big crowd on hand. It should be a super race. I'm looking forward to it.
You got an awful lot of strong cars behind you. They're going to be trying to chase down that back bumper. You got a good spotter to let you know where all these people are?
Yeah, my main man, Mark, he's up top spotting for me, keeping an eye out. He spots for me in the Winston Cup races. That's become a very important part of what we do. You got to have an extra set of eyes as tough as this competition is. We want to get this Pennzoil Pontiac in victory lane. We hadn't been able to win one of these races this year. This is a brand new Banjo Matthews car, and we think that it's going to be what we need to win. The guy sitting beside me thinks the same thing in the same kind of car, but I think we'll out-battle him.
It's going to take some battling. How rough a race do you expect tonight?
Well, you got to take it easy on these guys in front of you. You got to give them plenty of room. Bobby's leading the points, and Kenny's second. We got to give them a lot of respect because we don't want to do anything to interfere with what they do. So hopefully we can beat them, but we want to make sure we give them a lot of room. When it comes down to racing guys like Earnhardt and my brother and Harry Gant, we'll let it all hang out when that happens.
And we'll see for ourselves what's going to happen in just a few minutes when we come back for the start of the race.
We're ready to go racing here at Richmond International Raceway. It's 200 laps, 150 miles to be covered tonight. Our in-car camera is going to be carried by Jimmy Hensley, who knows his way around this three-quarter-mile oval. Let's take a look at what the weather is. Jimmy's car, that Oldsmobile, getting ready to cut loose. The temperature right now at 71 degrees, and it's receded 4 or 5 degrees in the past 45 minutes. It may come down some more. The command to fire the engines has just been given. We're about to get with the program tonight, Neil.
And Ken, you know, we've questioned off and on as we look at the shot here about the lights. I'm not sure that the racing surface itself is not brighter than it was out in the middle of daytime. They've zeroed these million candle power right on that racetrack, and it's really lit up well.
Billion candle power ready to turn it out here tonight. Impressive sight, isn't it, Debbie?
It really is. The crowd's wonderful, and like Neil said, the place is lit up.
Yeah, Paul Sawyer and company has done a magnificent job with this facility, which has become a real destination point all over the eastern seaboard. And this track is so smooth, and with the exception of turn 2 where you pinch it, you can run wide. You can go 2 or 3 deep across the line like at Michigan. But at turn 2, you'd better be on it, or you'd better be thinking about another career.
And Ken, every driver here knows that. When you build a brand new racetrack or whatever happens, you go to a new facility, there's going to be some things about it you've got to learn. Everybody knows turn 2's there. They deal with it. There's plenty of room around this racetrack. Anywhere you go. After what we used to race on here in Richmond on that half-mile racetrack, this thing is plenty fine.
And everybody remembers about Neil Bonnet on that old half-mile when you stopped from, what, 90 or 105 to 0 and 4 feet over there in turn 2.
You know, I was leading the race, Ken, and it's probably as easy as I'd ever led a race, and I went from about 100 to -5. It backed up 5 foot when it hit, and I certainly remember it.
A year ago, this race was the turning point in the career of Rick Mast. He won this event, and Steve Grissom drove that Gadsden, Alabama campaigner to a brilliant second place. It was a turning point in the career of Bobby Hamilton, who won his Grand National race. That wonderful Grand National racer, now Winston Cup racer out of Nashville, Tennessee, won this race the year before. And then, of course, prior to that, Handsome Harry was the man that did it. Harry Gant has won here. Dale Earnhardt has been victorious in this event. He backed Martin. Martin has won in the fall race. Field is rolling. And let's take a look at this grid one more time. Up in front, Bobby Labonte and Kenny Wallace for row 1, 1 point apart in the point battle. And in row 2, it's Michael Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt ready to go. Row 3, it's Todd Bodine and Virginia's own Tommy Ellis. Row 4 is Jimmy Hensley, Joe Nemechek. In row 5 is Dale Jarrett, who's having such a grand year, and Tommy Houston. Row 6, Dave Resendez and Ward Burton from Virginia. Row 7 is Robert Presley and Butch Miller out of the Midwest. Morgan Shepherd's in row 8, and that sensational Jeff Gordon on the outside. Going to row 9 is Tom Peck. He's been in this series since '89, still looking for that first win, and Darrell Waltrip's alongside. Row 10 is Tracy Leslie, the former ARCA champion, and Jeff Burton. Going to row 11, there you have Richard Lassiter in that 05 car, and Bobby Dotter, the Illinois campaigner, second generation. His dad was a heck of a racer. Row 12 is Cecil Eunice, and there's Ernie Irvin ready to go in car 10. Going to row 13, Dick Trickle, and I think you should watch Ted Tonder's car tonight, number 18. Chuck Bound, defending national champion, alongside row 14. There's Steve
Grissom, young David Green up there in the rookie campaign. Row 15, Harry Gant. There's another one to come from the back, and Eldon Sawyer. Row 16, Davey Allison's going to come out humming, and Ed Verrier. Row 17 tonight, Troy Beebe and Peter Suspenso.
There's drivers from 18 states on the track, and the lineup consists of 11 Oldsmobiles, 7 Buicks, 7 Chevys, 7 Pontiacs, and 2 Fords. So we've got a good representative field out there, Ken.
One lap and they will be racing, Chris. Getting ready to go tonight here on Prime Network. It's NASCAR Grand National Racing from the heart of stock car racing, Virginia, and the famed Virginia Fairgrounds. Up on the point, number 44 draws ahead. A little psyching going on as they settle down.
Yeah, they're psyching because they're also trying to get those tires warmed up. These cool conditions, they're going to try to get some heat in those tires and see if they can get them stuck to this cool racetrack.
Light is off on the pace car. Set for a start from Jimmy Hensley's car, looking back at a true contender. Dale Jarrett, who's had such a remarkable year, won that race by just inches over Davey Allison at Michigan and Winston Cup, has come right back and won in Grand National. Here we are, ready for the break.
A little bumping from Dale Earnhardt. Kenny Wallace got off to a little slow starting and a little bump from the back.
Just a love tap.
Looked like he might have missed a gear and he shoved him on into that other gear.
It's Labonte breaking into the lead on the back straightaway, cutting loose down to the inside. The yellow car is Michael Waltrip trying to make a move.
Tommy Houston seems to be slowing a little bit on the backstretch, Ken. The cars are kind of bunching up behind him.
As they complete lap number 1, out in front, it is Labonte going down into the corner. Here comes number 3, Earnhardt, up on the outside. In the second spot is Wallace, up to third, moves Earnhardt, and the yellow car, Michael Waltrip, falling back to fifth. Nemechek in number 87, rim riding as they come around, turns 3 and 4 on lap 2.
Wallace trying to make a move to the inside right here on the second lap.
Wallace right down in there. Remember, they're a point apart going into this battle in the championship and springing out in front. In Wallace for the moment, driving away by 2-3 car lengths. Earnhardt at number 3 comes with him.
Labonte might have got caught out on that outside group because we've got Earnhardt and Waltrip coming underneath him again.
Springing down to the inside. Looks like Hensley trying to make a move. Nemechek trying to cut him off there and was not able to close the inside lane up. There's the number 25 of Hensley trying to move in. From Jimmy Hensley's view, there he is right down to the bottom and just in front of him, Joe Nemechek.
And when you say right to the bottom, Ken, there's that wall that they're all talking about coming off turn 4. The cars are right up against it. Here they are going in the first turn. Cars wiggling around a little bit right here, coming up off the corner. You really see the car turning around.
Trouble. Hensley getting sideways, sliding down the back straightaway, and you're with him. He gets it refired. There has been no caution thrown. Wild ride for Jimmy Hensley, and the yellow is not out. He's back underway. Field is down across the start-finish line. He is back going once again. Hensley got into that turn number 2, that tricky turn 2, and away it went.
Looked like he might have got a little help from the rear, and it also looked kind of like I was spinning out myself. It's been a while, and I was turning around.
Let's take a look at the
replay on it. There he is on the inside. It's just a matter of pinching the car down. It's flat on the inside. He got the left side tires off too far. The back end came around, and he knows that wall's there. He can't work with any more track on the outside. He had to spin it.
You were riding live with Hensley as he lost it in turn 2, and you saw Ellis in the 12 car moving through. Caution is out.
Tommy Houston.
Tommy Houston on the backstretch. He's rolling.
He's rolling, but he got up in the wall in turn 2. Tommy Houston's number 6 was up on the outside of the second turn. He's brought out the first caution of the night at the 7th lap. And let's look again at what happened to Tommy Houston.
Here they are. Tommy's already got the car out of shape on the outside. This is the area we've been talking about. Wide entry, crowded up, and there's a little bumping and stuff goes on, and you can actually just spin the car like we saw earlier from Hensley's car. So at this time, I don't think he hit the wall very hard to be able to continue.
Hickory, North Carolina's Tommy Houston brings out the first caution of the night, and he'll have to fight his way back into this thing. More from Richmond shortly. From the Pennzoil aerial platform, looking at the field, rounding turns 3 and 4. Here at Richmond International Raceway with 9 laps complete, and they're just about set to go green. Underway, and on the brake, here's Earnhardt going for the lead. Earnhardt down to the inside.
race last year, Kenny Wallace made the statement that he learned a lot from Dale at the end of that race. He's learning a little bit now on these restarts. You're going to have to really be ready to go.
There's a guy that's just fantastic on restarts. He is so good when the flag comes out. Now you're watching Michael Waltrip working on Kenny Wallace. Kenny Wallace in second, then the number 30. Waltrip in the third spot. We are at lap 11 of the 200 to be run. Joe Nemechek in that white car running fourth in your picture.
You know, you're just saying we're 11 laps in the race, Ken, and on the right side of that little yellow race car that was brand new tonight, there's donuts all the way down the side of it, wheel marks. So this early in the race, we're already seeing a lot of close competition.
Going fifth is Lavani in sixth. That's Jarrett. See the front four.
The same car he won last weekend with at Darlington. Earlier today, one of his crew members, Craig Donnelly, said, oh, he likes this car. And when he likes the car, it's automatically faster. That's bad news for everybody else in this field. Meanwhile, Todd Bodine has radioed his crew. He said, I need some tape on the windshield. I got a glare problem. I can't see as well as I'd like. That's the first problem we've heard on pit road as a result of the lights. Ken?
That caution at lap number 7, a blessing for Jimmy Hensley. It allowed him to stay in the lead lap. Look at Wallace closing right back in on Earnhardt as they battle for the lead, with Michael Waltrip in third and Joe Nemechek maintaining the fourth position at lap 14. There's Nemechek in the 87 running that fourth spot. Wallace continues to challenge on the leader. Now falls back a car length at turn 3. The Autolite Platinum 200. Here comes Wallace crowding right down to the bottom, trying to take that lead back.
Kenny stated earlier today that he was not going to take anything from any of the drivers. He's fighting for a championship, and he's going to stay strong. And he said if he has to move him over a little bit, he'll just have to do it.
Kenny Wallace making another stout run of these radial tires. He's down to the bottom of the racetrack and going to the lead. Has Earnhardt pinned on the outside. Can he keep him there?
Ken, this is going to be very interesting. You know, he said he likes to go to school racing against guys like Earnhardt and Rusty. It's time to graduate. He's going to have to dish some of it out.
And it was right here that he went to school a year ago, had that incredible battle. Wallace fought Earnhardt on this track for 25, 30 laps, and said he learned so much there. Got a big spin in turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. Caution down. Second caution. This is at lap 17. And there you see the 67 car coming in with a nose badly blunted on that machine. That is Elton Sawyer's car. Let's take a look and replay. Wait a minute. Let's just check here as another car is coming by in bad trouble. That one looks like Chuck Bound may have a tire down.
Got the Panther bar. Looks like he's got the Panther bar knocked out of the rear. The rear end's running around. When you see the car wiggling back this, the rear end is not attached to the frame, and the car is running all over the back end, so he's going to have major problems with that.
Let's take a look at what happened out here. Coming again out of that critical turn 2 area.
We're picking it up. There was a wreck coming off 2, and it turned into a multiple wreck. A couple of guys got pinched up against the wall, and then once you lose it, there's not any area for dodging over there very much, and they just start stacking up. The guys made a good move pulling back down to the inside out of the way.
That's Elton Sawyer, Richard Lassiter in the 05 car, and Troy Beebe. There's a shot of Elton's car.
Elton Sawyer had such high hopes tonight. His wife's going to run in the next show over at Dover, Delaware. Tonight was to be his night. Patty Mui is getting the next shot out, but for the moment, it's back under caution, and his car's in serious trouble with 18 laps complete. Battles up in front, and it's between Earnhardt and Wallace, but it's Kenny Wallace tonight who's putting up the scrap.
Welcome back to Richmond as we have this view from the Pennzoil aerial platform. We talked at the top of the show about the close battle for first in the point parade, but of the top 6, half of them have already not fared well. Tommy Houston brushed the wall. Chuck Bound has broken the rear end, and Jimmy Hensley, third in the points, 155 markers out of first, had that early spin that nearly brought out the first caution of the day. Ken Squire?
Thank you very much, Mike. We're at 21 laps complete now. The first incident of the day did not bring out a caution. It was Jimmy Hensley in 25. And look at it again, and there's an interesting point about this spin. by Hensley, currently third in the Grand National points. This is turn 2 where it gets loose on him, and the point here is, Debbie?
Well, Jimmy's used to running the Hoosier tires all year, and the other drivers, the Goodyear tires have been radial tires, like at Darlington we ran radials. Hoosier have been bias ply, and they say the radials aren't as forgiving, and maybe Jimmy just got a little bit loose on them and lost the car. You can't get the car up as easy.
Yeah, they started running the radials in a lot of the Busch Grand National races, and no doubt it took the Winston Cup drivers a while to get used to that feel and know how you could throw the car around. That was not an extraordinary move to the inside. When it got away from him, he didn't have the recovery to come back.
Well, he's in 19th position right now, as you see the 25 out there. Here's Dick Bergman.
Well, the defending series champion Chuck Bowen is behind the wall right now. There's a whole pile of crew members looking at the rear end of the car. They say it's pretty badly damaged. Chuck, what can you tell from behind the wheel? How bad is this car?
It's torn up pretty bad. We bent the rear end housing. We're going to be in here a while making repairs. It's just a shame so early in the race. You know, the old 5 car slipped up a little bit, and Davey Allison and Dick Trickle got on by. I tried to follow him on through, and he didn't see me. He come down on me. We got together. I couldn't get away from him. He backed it into the fence coming out of 2, and I got squeezed between the old 5 and the wall. It's just a bad break, unfortunate thing this early in the race.
He sure is going to spend some time behind the wall. The only way they can change a bed housing is to take the whole rear end out of the car, and that's what they're about to do.
Can I tell you how the concerned wife, you know, Debbie Bowen, Chuck Bowen, they've been married for years, but how the concerned wife feels about this? Before the race, they were betting a quarter or two, a nickel or two down there. You know who she picked tonight?
Who's that?
Car 7, Harry Gann.
Well, that's because I figured somebody already had Chuck, so I wanted to give Harry a break.
Yeah, sure.
Well, your bet's looking better all the time.
That's right, I think so.
23 laps are complete. Light is off on the pace car. We're ready to go racing in the Autolite Platinum 200 at Richmond International Raceway. Wallace in front, Earnhardt in second.
Ken, something to watch this time on the last restart. Dale got the jump on Kenny and took the lead. Let's see if Kenny is ready. He said he's going to school. Let's see if he's graduating.
These cars look very much like Winston Cup cars, but they're quite different. They only weigh 3,200 pounds against the 3,500, and they have V6 engines of 274 cubic inches displacement against 350. Back to you, Ken.
And they rev them up a whole lot tighter. There's the fight for the lead. On the outside, the Intimidator goes to work. It's Earnhardt on the outside. Kenny Wallace on the bottom of the racetrack. Back straightaway, back to top speed, going to turn 3. Give it to Earnhardt.
And that's the hard way to do it around the outside, I think.
Here comes Wallace, crawling, creeping right back up on the bottom.
I understand that these tires, the radial tires, when they're cold, they're a little bit tricky. And maybe Earnhardt, with a little more experience, why those tires are cold, he's able to get the jump on Kenny.
Maintaining third is Michael Waltrip back straightaway. He hangs it right in there as they go down into turn 3 another time with Joe Nemechek, that Florida racer, looking good. There's Wallace, says, let's get physical, as he works on Earnhardt a little. That's the guy he learned from last year. That's the guy he's batting around up in front. That's no way to play with a teacher.
Well, I think he got the teacher, Ken. He's right up alongside of him.
Almost even into 3. Here's Kenny Wallace back on the bottom.
Ken, here's car 9. He's running down the corner. The back end's been hit down. And when he goes in the corner, that's the fuel cell out there with some steel bracing. It's actually bottoming out. NASCAR is probably going to black flag this car. That's from that earlier wreck. He's got the whole rear of the car dragging.
Back up in front, look at this struggle. We're at lap 27. Inside is Kenny Wallace, and outside is Earnhardt. And here comes Michael Waltrip right in there trying to stuff the nose of that number 30 Pontiac in there and closing in. Jarrett, the number 32 car, running in the 5th position. He's ready to make a move. 5 cars dice for the lead at lap 28.
You know, early in the race, Mike Waltrip said that these guys are battling for points, and he's going to take it easy on them. Here's Earnhardt up here leading the race. He says he's going to try to, looks like Mikey's ready to make his move now.
Look at that incredible picture in the back straightaways. You see all those cars in this dice go all the way back and find the end of that group, and you have 6 cars now battling for that top running spot. This is a slam bam, thank you ma'am race the back straightaway.
You got to hand it to Nemechek. He's doing a good job, and we got Robert Presley coming up right alongside of him. Those are 2 Busch regulars. Nemechek has not won a race, and that's what he wants to do.
And Presley has just moved around. He was that 6th place car. He's gone by Dale Jarrett. He's closed up on Nemechek. And from Jimmy Hensley's in car in that old Oldsmobile. He's right there. Pressing, working on him as he tries to cut through the field. Hensley getting back into this thing after spinning earlier in the going.
And you can see the cars in the front moving around in front of them there. We're back to the leaders. Earnhardt's pretty well settled down with a little bit of lead. Looks like Kenny Wallace is getting a lot of heat from Mike Walker.
Let's check on some positions. Irvin has come from 24th to 14th. Jeff Gordon, 16th up to 11th. And Jeff Burton has moved from 20th to 13th. But here's the story. Right up in front, it's a dandy. Coming around with 31 complete. Earnhardt in first. Has 2.5 car lengths over Kenny Wallace in second. Michael Waltrip right there. Remember, Michael Waltrip broke through on this racetrack. Won himself a race. Grand National competition in the Winter Series, March Series.
Little Waltrip just took a look to the outside. He couldn't get around up under him, so he stuck the nose outside and tried it, and he lost some ground, so he's going to find a different way to do it.
You are so brave. Little Waltrip. Guy 6'4", Little Waltrip.
Yeah, but I raced Darrell, and Mikey was Little Man. I can still call him Little Waltrip. I can handle him.
Take a look at Presley in the 59, working the outside. In turn number 2, Presley stuffed it out there and went double wide, and he made it through as he runs with Jarrett. You got to have a lot of confidence in the guy on the bottom when you do that in turn 2.
Ken, what you do a lot of times, the every driver's being the least bit cautious in turn 2. If you want to get brave and try it, that guy's rolled out of the throttle. You can step out there and try it, but sometimes it's pretty thin ice.
Presley tried to pass Nemechek, and you can see he dropped back a little bit. He tried to pass him on the outside, and that groove just doesn't quite work. These cars are so equal that you have to have an advantage to be able to pass.
He started in 13th position, and here's Presley working on Nemechek. He's having the best night of the season for that car 59. Great run.
What they have to do, Ken, one thing that really helps a car here is if you can roll through the corner real free. These little 6-cylinder motors, they're very fast. They'll run as fast as a V8 if you can keep the momentum up. They're having to really roll through. If you've got a guy in front of you that slows you down the least bit, then the motor doesn't want to accelerate off the corner. So if somebody's holding you up, you've got to do whatever it takes to get on around them, or they're really going to slow you down.
Asheville, North Carolina's Robert Presley, who's had a couple of Grand National victories, including one this year. But this one at Richmond would be an all-time dinger. He can pull off this and get to the front, continuing to work on Nemechek in the 87. And Nemechek taking that high line, the Florida campaigner, who started out in sports cars. He faded up just a bit high. Let's see if Presley can do more with it. Meanwhile, Jarrett playing that patient game his dad used to play, waiting his time out with now 37 laps in the book.
When you talk again about waiting out, we saw one thing earlier that we mentioned at the top of the show that they brought a little bit softer compound here for night racing. I don't think anyone really knows what kind of tire wear. There's somewhere down the road they're going to have to think about taking care of those tires to finish on them.
Now look at Jarrett in the 32, having that grand year, getting ready to move on to a new team in his Winston Cup campaign next year. Joe Gibbs of the Washington Redskins, who is so excited about bringing a team into NASCAR racing. Here is Dale Jarrett in the 32. Again tonight, he could be a very strong factor when this is over. He seems to have learned all the right things to do on any size track after his victory at Michigan.
Ken, there's nothing that boosts a guy's morale and confidence any more than winning. I walked down and talked to them. They're on top of the world. The Wood brothers, I went by and saw those guys this afternoon, and after the victory up there, they're all ready to go. Dale has always been a factor in these Busch Grand National races. He's won several of them, and he's got a good car right now.
As Darrell Walter moves up on the outside, Neil makes a good point. The night racing format here is similar to that at Bristol, Tennessee. The drivers do not practice or qualify under the lights. They do it all in the daytime. That's why Todd Bodine was looking to have his windshield covered, and why there's such a question about tire wear and chassis setup. This is their first run at night, the actual race, and that makes things a little different.
Looking further back at the 17 and the 97, you're in 17th position back there. That is Waltrip having his own battle with Morgan Shepherd. But again, the guy on the move is Gant. Gant has gone around Waltrip. Gant's gone around a lot of cats. He was way out of the back of this field. He's on a roll. He's up into 15th position. Gant in the number 7, beginning to look strong again. What a year this guy's having. Oldest active driver winning in Winston Cup racing, gets out here with this Whitaker car, and he's having a dandy night.
Well, you might say the oldest, but he's certainly one of the strongest. That guy is stout. He's capable of driving race cars. He wore him out, as he said at Darlington. He looked like the freshest guy after it was.
Caution out. Yellow is down. Caution down on the track, and that gets us into our third caution, our third official caution of the night. Yellow out. Track looks relatively clear out there, Debbie. Drive shaft falling out. Drive shaft is out. Lap 43 of the Autolite Platinum 200, coming to you live from Richmond International Raceway with the present time. The story up in front is the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt. He's got him covered for the moment. Back with more in just a moment. Well, that drive shaft, miraculously, its magic has turned itself into a bumper that came off Steve Grissom's car and brought out this caution, which we're still under at lap number 43. And it looks like it was the break of the night for Wallace, for Kenny Wallace, who's back on pit road another time. He drifted up real high in turn 4 on that last green flag lap, and that probably is a big blessing. Let's go down to Dick Bergen, who is in the 36 pits.
Well, no big blessing for Kenny Wallace. He apparently has hit the drive shaft. Steve Bird, the crew chief, said there's no problem on the car, but don't you believe it. These guys are all underneath. What they're working on right now is the anti-roll bar. They've got the kinds of wrenches underneath there that you'd be working on that particular portion of the car. If that thing is bent, if it's bound, if it's not exactly free and right, he's got problems. And he does have problems with the anti-roll bar. The arm is hanging down. Kenny Wallace with a significant suspension problem here on pit road.
And about to go a lap down. He just barely gets out. He's going to clear and stay in the lead lap. And as they rolled around to get ready to go, Dale Earnhardt just pulled up and gave a little love pat to the pace car.
Yeah, Dale was beating on the pace car, but also the thing with Kenny Wallace, his car looked like it had been getting a little bit looser and a little bit looser, and with that sway bar loose, it's going to have that characteristic.
So Wallace is going to pit again. Even though we're going to green, he has to bring it on in, which means it's pretty much like he's going to go a lap down. On the restart, Earnhardt will be first. Michael Waltrip in second. Joe Nemechek is third. Looking further back, Robert Presley in fourth. Dale Jarrett is fifth. Bobby Labonte lies sixth. Ernie Irvin is in seventh. Todd Bodine in eighth. Ward Burton is ninth. That's Jeff Burton out there in 10th. And Jeff Gordon is running 11th with Tracy Leslie 12th as the green comes on at lap 48. Back under green at lap 48.
There are three abreast down in turn 1.
A little bit further back in the field from the 25 car as it continues to wind its way back through the field after spinning earlier. Currently 19th. That's Jimmy Hensley. Back up with the leaders. Here you see Earnhardt in first. Now the yellow car, Michael Waltrip in second. The white car, Nemechek in third. Dale Jarrett to fourth. And Presley falls back one spot into fifth.
Again, there's been a lot of development put into this V6 motor. We heard earlier in the show that our guys were telling us that was one of Richard Childress' V6 motors in there built in their shop. Most of these cars run Buick V6s. That is one of the few V6 Chevrolet motors. So the thing looked like they're really getting it sorted out.
Take a look down here, Neil, as Nemechek stays right up in there. Still looking for that first Grand National victory in car number 87 and under tremendous pressure from number 32, Dale Jarrett. Are there any drivers that give you a lot of advice on your driving out there, Joe?
I think the most help I get is from Dale Earnhardt. You know, he kind of coaches me a little bit, and he helps me out and tells me things I'm doing wrong and maybe where I can improve, and I think he helps me out the most.
He needs some help right here as Dale Jarrett continues to work. That Kenny Wallace pit stop took 36 and 6/10 seconds. He has lost 3 laps, and Kenny Wallace in that point battle is now running 29th on the field.
And you know, in 6th place is Bobby Labonte, and Bobby just kind of takes his time. He's always there at the end of the race if that car holds together. He doesn't need to be flashy. He doesn't need to lead. He likes to lead the last lap.
So back to 29th goes Wallace. There you see the front 6. Earnhardt in front, and there's Michael Waltrip right there, and now in third, and closing comes Dale Jarrett.
Dale Jarrett is such a hot driver right now, Ken. I talked to him earlier, and he just said things kind of snowball for you. You start winning, the team double checks, triple checks those bolts, and they're really running well.
Well, Kenny Wallace has really got his work cut out for him this evening. He lost one of those laps because he was penalized for speeding down pit road. Worse, the only way they could fix that car so he could run at all was they unhooked the anti-roll bar in front. That thing will be a sled. It will not handle at all for the rest of the evening. He's going to wind up with some blistered hands if my bet is right.
Dick Berggren, you're right. When they take that sway bar off, it actually takes bite away from the race car. The only alternative they have now is crank a lot of bite in the car to compensate for it, but you can never get it back without that's a vital piece of that car to be off.
There you see Harry Gant closing in on Hensley. That's Hensley and Gant back there, 15th and 16th on the field, trying to cut their way back through. Jimmy Hensley giving us these pictures as Harry Gant tries him on the outside. Gant in the 7, goes up on the high side and tries to move around. Going to get himself one. Harry Gant is on the charge as he works his way through the field.
Ken will be okay as long as Harry doesn't tell us that his car's not running. When he starts making these moves, he starts saying, well, my old car's not running, he's fixing to come to the front.
Take a look at this. That is Presley on the inside and Nemechek on the outside. And we've got one car in the wall.
It's Todd Bodine, number 34 car.
Todd Bodine socks the wall. It's in the second turn. This is lap number 57. Caution is out on the leaders. And as they come to the line, Joe Nemechek is just in front of Presley for that 4th position. So Todd Bodine in car number 34 spins, bumps that second turn wall, and that has been where the altercations have been taking place all night that have brought out the cautions.
Ken, there was a little bit of fluid down there prior to where the car was sitting. I don't know if he hit the wall and then knocked the radiator or the oil tank out of it, but it looked like there was liquid before he stopped, so he might have had motor trouble.
Well, Todd Bodine, 3rd last week up there at Darlington, finishing right behind those Winston Cup runners when Earnhardt came home first, and the hungry Jack Buick takes the wall pretty hard.
Here he goes. This is after he gets in there, Ken. We can see it looked like a little oil or something on the track before he got the car turned around. He must have had a problem with the engine. It looks like oil coming out the thing, and then he backed it up in the wall.
Todd Bodine, who came into this race 7th in points, he will be a victim out here tonight. Safety crews for Todd Bodine on the track. We'll be back with more from Richmond International Raceway in a moment. Todd Bodine climbed out of car number 34. Appears to be okay. They're going to take him in for a routine checkup. But he really thumped the wall in turn number 2. We're 61 laps down to the 200 to be run here in the Autolite Platinum 200. Upcoming, the Grand National ranks move on to the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. That's September the 14th, and then October the 5th. Charlotte, North Carolina is where the action is, and that's always a dandy. Then they move to Loudon, New Hampshire, that beautiful new mile track that Bob Baer has created near Concord, New Hampshire, near Manchester, New Hampshire. Then it's Rockingham, the Rock itself, North Carolina Motor Speedway, and October the 27th at Clay Earl's beautiful Martinsville, Virginia half mile.
Well, they clean up from Todd Bodine's accident. That takes the 7th place point man in the Busch ranks out of the race. Bodine with 1 victory and 6 top 5 finishes as cleanup continues. And going back to the alleged drive shaft, yes, Ken, there was a drive shaft, and it came out of Bobby Dodder's 08 car, and the drive shaft actually sheared in half. Now, this is made of pretty substantial steel. You can imagine it takes quite a bit of torque to wrap one of these up. The cars behind Fit Wally are trying to make repairs, so even though Steve Grissom did lose a bumper, this is what brought out the caution.
Well, but what we couldn't figure out is how he pedaled that thing around for 2 laps. They were at least 2 laps before they came in, weren't they, Neil?
Yeah, he must have had a real big rubber band in that thing, because he made 2 laps after that thing fell out.
We're lonely for Chris Economaki. Let's see what he's doing.
Well, I'm down here at Dale Earnhardt. It was 63 laps down. His crew chief, Tony Erie, says he's not going to bring him in. Dale has been complaining about a car that's pushing the front end. It's not set up to his satisfaction, but he's leading the race. Now, he's got enough gas if he would stop now to go all the way, but he's passing up this opportunity, and that's a little bit of a gamble. Back to you, Ken.
We're watching Tommy Ellis make a pit stop right here. The other guy that is really trucking out here tonight, who started in 24th position, is Ernie Irvin. All of a sudden, that yellow and white car number 10 finds itself in 7th position. So that's not half bad. He's really closing up on those guys. We saw him run up at Loudon, New Hampshire earlier this year, put on a tremendous show. He fought for 60 laps, wheel-to-wheel with Michael Waldron. It's going to get interesting here as we go back to green very shortly. Track is just about clear. I think maybe 3 more laps and we'll have it down. 3/4-mile track is where the Autolite Platinum 200 is being run tonight. Richmond International Raceway. It looks like a tremendous crowd for Grand National competition here at one of the favored tracks in NASCAR competition.
From the looks of that car on the hook, Ken, it's a good thing we took time to go up through the starting field and show everybody what they look like before they start, because at a place like this, when you bend them up, you wrap them up in
Hey, it's Friday night, Saturday night. You know how it is when you have night races. Your kid's running all the time, Neil.
Yeah, and I'm putting a lot of fenders on that thing. I shouldn't say that. He's won the championship. He's been doing real good lately. I'm looking for a full moon.
Your kid won the championship?
Yeah, he won, set a new track record at Birmingham Friday night, new track record at Montgomery, won both championships. So I'm ready for him to wind down, and we'll play a little golf and go fishing the rest of the week.
9 winners in the last 9 races in Grand National competition. That's some kind of competition. Watkins Glen, it was Terry Labonte who just did such a great job on that 2-mile track. Then Ricky Craven from the NASCAR North Circuit. The Prescott car won at Oxford, Maine. Kenny Wallace in that outstanding run at Loudon earlier. Looking further down, Bristol, the win for Dale Jarrett. Of course, he followed that right up with that great, or just before that Michigan victory. Jimmy Hensley scored at Rougemont. Bobby Labonte's had one. Bobby Labonte right now may get a big leg up with the 6 races to go on the season as he lies in 6th position on the restart. It'll be Earnhardt first, Michael Waltrip in 2nd, Dale Jarrett is 3rd in the back straightaway, Joe Nemechek out there in 4th, Robert Presley 5th, then Bobby Labonte 6th, Ernie Irvin in 7th, Jeff Burton is 8th. As you look down from the high side, the real high side, on this beautiful racetrack. Here's Dick Bergen.
Well, I'm with Brett Bodine. You just went in and saw your brother. How's he doing?
Well, Dick, it looks like he hurt his elbow and his left side of the ribs. You know, he went in driver's side, slapped the wall. And you know, as a driver, that's about the worst hit you can take, something sideways. Knocked the wind out of him a little bit, and he's complaining about a little bit of rib pain and definitely banged his elbow pretty hard.
So he's complaining, so he's not too bad then.
Right. You know, that's the way it goes. If you're complaining, you're in pretty good shape. You know, we hated for him. He was running pretty good, and Hungry Jack Buick is running real well, but just got a little loose getting into one, and at this racetrack, it's not very forgiving. If you get a little high, you're up in the fence.
And you're also in the infield care center, and that's where he is right now. He's got good attention being paid to him.
Completing the 67th lap this time by. We may get a take 1 and send him off here. This time, let's see what happens. Take a look at that facility. That's just such a beautiful racetrack.
Ken, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. We were just talking about the backbone of this sport, this Friday and Saturday night racing, and nothing any better for these guys to be able to come to a facility like this and showcase what they can do on national TV with the kind of crowds they have in a place like this. This is what all of these Friday and Saturday night racers all over the country work for, is to be able to come to a place like this and show the guys what they can do.
26 cars are on the lead lap. That shows you what they can do. 26 cars remaining up on that front point as we get ready to go racing once again. Light is still on the pace car.
I'm wondering, Neil Bonnet, you know, as you were saying, coming out of turn 2, it's such a tricky corner. We got all that speedy dry up there. Is it going to make it trickier?
Debbie, I was just looking. It's going to keep their hands full. They're going to have to wear that out of the way, then they'll be ready to go.
Neil, earlier Chris touched on some of the differences and similarities between these and the Winston Cup cars. Yes, they weigh 300 pounds less. Also, the wheelbase is 7 inches shorter. And that V6 with 75% less cylinders, or 25% less cylinders, has 20% less moving parts. Makes a lot of power. These could be quicker than the Winston Cup cars. But one big difference under the skin. All the Winston Cup Pontiac, Oldsmobiles, Buicks, and Chevys use a derivative of the Chevy small block V8 engine. In this series, most of the V6s in the GM cars are Buicks. Earnhardt, a couple of the other cars run Chevys, but most of the rest run Buicks, from Carl Wegner, Jim Ruggles, Ron Hunter, Hones and Eanes, and other engine builders. The Fords, of course, run Fords. What else?
And it begs the question, what happens with Buick's cutback next year to the Buick program in Grand National competition? We know what's going to happen in the Winston Cup. Ready to go green this time. Field coming down with Earnhardt up in front. Michael Waltrip tucked right there in second spot. You see on the outside, Kenny Wallace a lap down. 26 cars in the lead lap as they streak across the line. Lap 69 is where we're at as the green flag is unfurled once again. And Earnhardt draws away. Here comes Michael Waltrip down to the bottom.
Bobby Labonte and Ernie Irvin got a good jump on the 59 car. He's back there in 6th position. But he got it back.
The 10 and 44 running wheel to wheel down into the corner. There they come. And on the inside, the 10 car is making the move. It's Ernie Irvin picking it up and getting under Bobby Labonte, and right with him comes number 99, Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton's a good little racer. Look at Nemechek work on Wallace and move him out of the racing groove.
Ken, that car is doing exactly what they do without a front sway bar. Up in the middle of the corner out, off the corners where that sway bar tightens it up, and he's certainly got his hands full to try to just keep the car in control off the corner.
He drives it in one way, then the car takes over and pitches it out another. Here's the 59. That's Presley closing in on Nemechek, and right behind them comes Ernie Irvin. Ernie Irvin, who made that big apology on his driving style down at Talladega, and it seemed like it cost him at Talladega. He started to drive conservatively, got caught up in a big crash further back in the field with Buddy Baker. Tonight, he's got his foot in it. He's come from 24th, currently up into 6th. Battle for that lead goes like this. Earnhardt first, Waltrip second, Dale Jarrett's in third. 75 lap mark, 2 laps away. The inside opens up, and there's Dale Jarrett knocking on the door again.
Ken, these cars that Dale Earnhardt and Mike Waltrip have are the new type cars that are supposed to run a little bit tighter. They're both running higher on the racetrack. Dale Jarrett seems to be able to run a little bit lower. We'll just have to see if he's able to stay down there and get under these guys and up off the corner ahead of them.
Well, Dale Earnhardt took a rebuilt car and won the Grand National race at Darlington. Here he is, thrusting that number 3 right up into the lead, and number 30 staying right with him. Michael Waltrip hasn't missed a beat in this one. Here's Dale Jarrett looking a little higher through turns 3 and 4.
That car of Mike Waltrip was brand new. As Mike Joy mentioned earlier, it came off of the racetrack, off the trailer on the racetrack. The car probably doesn't have 100 laps on it right now from the time it was built.
It's hard to give up this lead battle out here and show anything else because they're keeping Earnhardt under such pressure. And I don't think he's out there fishing. I don't think he's toying with them. That's about as good as he can make it go around. And look at this lap from the high side.
Tony Urey, Earnhardt's crew chief, they're concerned about a tight race car. They're going to have to work on it before the night's over.
The lights here, as we said earlier, have been set up just for tonight's race. Harry Gant, number 7, and Davey Allison, number 28, say the lights are in their eyes coming off of turn 4, blinding them momentarily. And for the race tomorrow night, they're going to have to tape up their windshield and make some changes.
75 laps down, 125 to go. Now 70 moving along here, 77 down, 123 to go. And here is Waltrip once again. Seems to get that car to work just a little bit better, but he hasn't got it to pull it off the corner. Let's see if he does it this time. 63 is slowing down.
I think 63's been out there, Ken, just going slow. They repaired the car, and he's back out there. He's probably trying to get points. He's keeping the car low to try to stay out of the way.
Down to the back straightaway. Here's Michael Waltrip diving right in there again. Michael Waltrip in that yellow, number 30, down to the bottom.
You know, I said at the top of the show, they've done a lot of work on that V6 Chevrolet motor in the number 3 car. Michael seems to be able to put the move on him chassis-wise, and the motor seems to be real strong in Dale's car right now.
And Jarrett up on the outside makes the move. Dale Jarrett hustles into second spot.
He seems to have the best handling car of the 3. I don't know where he's going to be at motor-wise when he tackles this.
Meanwhile, backing up, Bobby Labonte is fading. He's dropped back to 18th position. Remember, he was running up there, 6th on the field. Now there's something amiss on 44.
Is there something amiss, or when the guy that you're battling for the points is 3 laps down, you make sure you stay in the lead lap and finish and run hard at the end? Labonte is notorious for coming on at the end of the race. We'll just have to see what happens.
Look at this lead. 80 laps, 81 laps now complete as they cross the stripe. Dale Jarrett looking for another one, and he shoves Earnhardt out of the way. Here comes Waltrip up for second spot. Presley closing for third in the 59.
He's kind of getting freight trained there. Earnhardt's staying up a little high, and I think Presley's going to get by him, too.
I think as good as Dale Jarrett's car is running compared to the other two, Dale will be able to put a little bit of distance on these guys. Michael's car and Earnhardt's car both are real pushy, so these other two should be able to work on it.
Well, Dale Jarrett had 3 Grand National victories thus far this season. He'd be the first to score 4 if he can pull it off. He's tied with some other pretty